This is the ABCs of Science by Ferris. A is for amoeba. An amoeba is a kind of cell that can change its shape. Amoebas change their shape to move and eat. The white blood cells in your body move like amoebas to protect your body from infection. They come and grab it. B is for bond. Here's hydrogen and oxygen. A bond is an attraction between atoms. The bonds in this illustration happen because each of the hydrogen atoms shares an electron with the oxygen atoms. These bonds create the water molecule H2O. So see, that one is shared, the orange one. And the green ones all started out with either oxygen or hydrogen. So these two started with hydrogen, and these 6 started with oxygen. C is for conductor. A conductor allows electrical energy to flow. It's usually a metal. This happens when the electrons are free to move around. The opposite of a conductor is an insulator, so these are probably metal atoms. And here's electrons, and because they're free, they can all go in this direction when there's a charge moving through. D is for Doppler effect. The Doppler effect is the change in how moving things sound. So this would be if there's no movement, and this is if there is movement. This is what happens when you hear an ambulance pass. It sounds one way when it is coming towards you, and it sounds different when it passes. This is because when a noisy thing moves, the sound waves are pushed together in front of it. See, those are pushed together, so they're higher pitched, and the sound waves around it are pushed together in front of it and stretched apart behind it. So see, these are stretched apart. And this would be if you're just listening to it if it was standing in one place. E is for electron. Here's a nucleus, and it's got protons and neutrons and electrons. Those are the ones on the outside. Electrons are particles that have 1 unit of negative charge. Electrons orbit nuclei to make atoms. They are very important because they play a part in almost all of nature. It's true. The electrons are what determine how that's going to bond with other chemicals. F is for fulcrum. A fulcrum is the point at which a lever pivots. Right there is the fulcrum. A lever is a simple machine that makes work easier. In a pair of scissors, each blade is a lever. The fulcrum is the point where the 2 blades connect. G is for gene. A gene is part of DNA and is a unit of heredity. So each gene comes from one parent. The children get their genes from their biological parents, but they are not copies of their parents because the genes change a little bit. This change is called mutation. And mutation doesn't actually happen every time, but it can happen. So you can have a little bit of a change. And a gene is a set of DNA, one piece of the DNA. H is for hydrogen. There's a proton and an electron, and there's no neutron here. Hydrogen is the first element in the periodic table. Hydrogen's atomic number is 1. This means it has 1 proton in its nucleus. It is the most abundant element in the universe. That's because it was the first element that was made, and it smashing into other stuff was how everything else started being made. I is for igneous. Igneous rock is cooled magma or lava. When a volcano erupts, hot lava eventually cools and hardens. This makes new igneous rock. There are hundreds of different kinds of igneous rock, like granite and obsidian. So as this lava cools, it becomes igneous. J is for jet. A jet is a stream of fluid or air that has been forced through a nozzle. This is what makes a garden hose work and an airplane fly. In an airplane engine, air is pushed through a nozzle to make it go faster than when it went in. It gives the plane more thrust. So all of this is coming, and it has mass and speed, and when you pinch it, in order for all of this water here to get through, it has to have more force and be going faster. K is for kinetic. Kinetic energy is the energy of moving things. So this has kinetic energy as it's moving and it's in its swing. When it's up at the top, it has potential energy. Something that is not moving has energy called potential energy. The two kinds of energy can be changed into each other as in a swing. So it's got potential energy here because it's very high, and kinetic energy here because it's moving. And when it comes back up here, it'll have potential energy again. Up and down. L is for light. Light is the part of the spectrum that is visible to human eyes. Wi-Fi, radio, X-rays, and many other things are part of the spectrum, but invisible to us. Light travels as particles called photons. So this is white light, and when it goes through a prism, the prism refracts it, so it breaks it into its individual colors, and then you get a rainbow, all the different visible colors of light. But if you take a look, when this light breaks up, you actually get infrared up here and ultraviolet down here, but we can't see them. But you can detect them because things will get a little bit warm or they'll reflect. You can see that happens if you use other ways of measuring, not just your eyeballs. M is for mitosis. There it goes. Mitosis is the division of one cell nucleus into two by copying DNA. After mitosis, the entire cell can split into two, so the body can grow new cells or replace old cells. So here it is. It starts as a cell, and then everything inside duplicates, see, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then those separate out, and they pair first so that they separate nice and tidy, and they line up with each other, and then two new cells form from the first one, and they look exactly like the mom cell, the two daughter cells, and the mother cell, and they look exactly the same unless there was some mutation. N is for nebula. A nebula is a large cloud of dust and gas in space. A nebula is a birthplace of stars. A nebula can also be created when a star explodes, an event called supernova. So all this dust out there could either be because there's dust and it's going to form into stuff, or it could be stuff exploded and turned back into dust. And you can't necessarily know which way it's going, but we can sometimes tell based on all the things that we can see from space. O is for ozone. Ozone is a molecule made of 3 oxygen atoms. Its chemical formula is O3. The ozone layer is a thin protective barrier in the Earth's atmosphere that helps block harmful UV light from the sun. P is for proton. There's neutrons, protons, and electrons. Protons are positive. Protons carry 1 unit of positive electrical charge. Protons and neutrons make up the nucleus. This in here, that's the nucleus, the pink and the blue. And protons and neutrons are made of 3 subatomic particles called quarks. So quark, 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 and there's an electron. And that's negative out there. And the electron is around the outside. Q is for quark. Quarks are subatomic particles. Quarks make up the standard model of a particle physics. There are 6 different kinds of quarks: up, down, top, bottom, strange, and charm. So here's down, down, up, and up, up, down. R is for radiation. Radiation is light released by all things. The color of the radiated light depends on its temperature. Even people are radiating. So when you're radiantly smiling, that's a good thing, you're doing physics. But the color of light radiated by people is infrared, so we cannot see it. So to be serious, when we are radiating, it is the kind of warmth that we have. So if you feel like you give somebody a hug and they're really warm and cozy, that's because they're generating heat. S is for sun. The sun is the closest star to the planet Earth. So the sun is a star, but it's also our special star, which is what makes it the sun. The sun is made mostly of hydrogen and then a little bit of helium and a few other things, and its radiation is the source of all energy on Earth. The sun is often drawn yellow, but its light contains all the colors mixed into white. So when sunlight gets here and we put it through a prism, we get refracted light, all the different colors. T is for theory. Science is a collection of explanations of nature. Each explanation is called a theory, which scientists use to make predictions that can be tested with experiments. The best theories are the one that pass the most tests. So we could actually start anywhere here, and sometimes we start with observations, which is why it's so important to be curious. So we start with a theory. We say we think this is how it works, and we use the theory after we kind of study it to predict what would happen in an experiment, and then we create the experiment and test it. And when you look at the results of the experiment, you can decide whether it's a good theory or not. And if it doesn't quite fit, you can modify to make a new theory, and that's how science works. U is for ultraviolet. Ultraviolet light is not visible to humans. Ultraviolet or UV light is high energy light. It has a higher frequency than blue or violet light. UV light from the sun can burn your skin, so be safe. It would be up here. So they might have printed it on the page, but we can't see it. V is for vaccine. Vaccines stop the spread of disease. Some vaccines are weakened versions of a virus or a disease that help your body create immunities. Some of them are just little pieces of a disease or virus to help your body know what it looks like. If you catch the actual virus, your body is ready to fight if you have been vaccinated. So actually, vaccines work to basically train our immune system, kind of like going out and having training exercises, and then your body is all ready to go out and do the fight when the actual problem comes. So it really helps us get ready. It's preparation. W is for wave. A wave is something that transfers energy from one source to another. So here's a wave, and we see waves in all kinds of stuff. There are many kinds of waves. Sound is a wave that transfers energy from the source of the noise to a person's eardrum. The energy vibrates the eardrum and creates sound. But we also see waves in water, and waves in air can be pressure waves or sound waves or all kinds of things. Light travels in waves. So it's pretty cool. You see lots of different things. So if you understand waves, you understand a whole lot of physics. X is for xylem. The xylem is the part of the plant that moves water from the roots to the leaves. So there's tiny little tubules, and they look like this, and they can pull the water up into the leaves. Xylem cells are arranged in long tubes in the stem of the plant. They soak up water like a sponge, and it actually helps that water is a slightly charged the polar molecule. So the water clings to itself, and that helps pull the water up the xylem. Y is for Yoda.